Hey friends, Patrick here, and today you saw the title. Let's talk about SEO, search engine optimization, with your Blazor application. And first, quick disclaimer, I am not an SEO expert, nothing like that, but I can tell you what a search engine might see when it accesses your Blazor page, your Blazor web application. Google is a bit different, it seems. But still, what we can do here is we can create a Blazor web app. We will not name it. It doesn't really matter what name this thing has. But what we do is we choose interactive render mode auto. So we have every mode and we will go through every mode step by step. And then we'll have a look. And by the way, there's, again, I saw it on X or Twitter. There's so much negative talk about these new render modes that you have to decide what kind of render mode you have to use when you're building your web application. And actually, it's quite the opposite now with .NET 8, in my opinion. Yes, in the beginning, it was a bit confusing maybe, and sometimes it still is, maybe, but you can just start with your Blazor web app, choose SSR as your default render mode, meaning you just choose none, for instance, and then you build your application. And then when you see, oh my gosh, I have this interactive chart there, so I need some interactivity, well, then you can just add the stuff you need afterwards, but you do not have to start from scratch. And up until .NET 8, it was like, do I have to use Blazor Server or Blazor WebAssembly? So if you chose the wrong one for your specific situation, then you had your copy and paste fest maybe, but now it's just one application really, and you can change everything in that application and you do not have to start from scratch. So these are just my 2 cents, a short little rant, sorry about that maybe, but really I don't get it. It's confusing. Yes, you have to learn stuff. Well, you have to learn stuff every single day in your life, I guess. Otherwise, it's quite boring and you don't get anywhere. But in particular with software or web development, guys, just learn your stuff, watch the docs or my YouTube videos, subscribe maybe, that would be nice. Thank you very much. And don't forget to hit the like button. And then I think everything will be fine. So auto mode, this means we have everything already implemented for us. I think we can make this a bit smaller here, the solution explorer. Yep, this looks good. And as you can see now, oh yes, we have 2 projects now. This is only for the client, but I talked about the render modes in other videos. Maybe I can add the info card there. So now we have the examples here, which are the weather razor component, the page here that uses static server-side rendering and stream rendering, all right? And then we also have the counter component here, which is in this case interactive auto. And maybe you know by now that this means when someone accesses the page for the very first time, then this will be Blazor Server. We're using WebSockets, and then all the WebAssembly stuff is downloaded in the background. And when someone accesses this page for a second time, so really reloading the page, for instance, then WebAssembly is the choice. But let's just run this thing. And what I want to show you is the developer tools and then the network tab of the developer tools, in my case in Chrome. And there it is, but the browser doesn't really matter. Of course, you can also use Firefox or Edge or whatever you want to use. And there are also some developer tools. Now, I usually just press F12 on my keyboard, but for you guys, well, you are not able to see this now. So now you go to more tools. This is important. And then the developer tools down here. And you can also see it's Control Shift and I in my case. So Control Shift and I should actually, there it is. This is what I'm talking about. And then maybe we can again show me to you. Maybe this helps a bit more. Well, I already have the network tab open here because I've tested this, of course. Now, there are tools out there to check how your page might look, but if it's not deployed, then what can you do? Tell me in the comments if there are some other tools that you can use for search engine optimization locally. You don't have to deploy your page first, maybe, but my choice here is just the network tab, because when we now just refresh the page and you don't filter here what types you or what documents or what kind of files you want to see, you can always, pretty much always, actually, you can choose the first entry here, which is a document. All right, so here now you see what's actually happening. This is the request URL, and then there are already some information, but I think the more important ones are this stuff here. You have the preview and you have the response, and in the response you see the actual HTML that a crawler, maybe a search engine, might see when it accesses your page. And here you also can already see some meta information. Well, the meta tags are important, I know, for SEO, but first I want to focus on the result when you are accessing a page. And here you can already see, looks a bit different, right? Of course, we do not have all the styling of the CSS file, and we have no JavaScript, and we see something else that we don't actually see here on the page, and this is the error bar in Blazor. Now, how does this work? How does this build, or how is this built by your application actually? For that, we have to check well, the absolute base files here in your Blazor application. The very first one is the app razor, and here you can see already you've got the typical HTML tag, the doc type even, you have the header, you have a body, and you also have the meta tags here. Now, you do not have to add meta tags here if you want to change them for a specific page. Let's say, for example, you have a blog or a portfolio page, whatever it is, and you want to change the meta description, for instance, according to your page. So there's something else for that, and you can already see here there's this head outlet component, and you can use a component that is the head content, but we will do that a bit later. So let's just remember that, and then I get back to you, or to this component. So now the header, this is this stuff here, and now again network tab and the response, or we could actually also right click and then have a look at the source code. But the problem with that is that sometimes some interactivity or JavaScript stuff already happened and you already see the result in the source code. So it's not really what a crawler might see that is not using JavaScript. Again, Google might be different. I don't know, I read somewhere that they run JavaScript code, so again, results may differ there, but to be absolute sure, let's just have a look at this stuff here in the network tab. So we see the meta tags, you see the header, right? The title already is something from the head outlet here, and when we go to the home page here, the home razor component, you see that we have the page title component, and this component writes, as you can now see, or you have seen, writes the title to the head content, and this is, or the head, there it is, the head outlet, and this is then in the end the title element, the title tag that is used for your HTML page in the end, and this is the result, right? So great stuff, and you also see here the tab is called home. Beautiful. Then comes the body part, and this is a lot actually, right? You see here lots of HTML code. So we start with the body, and we see the body actually here in the app razor as well. We also see that there's a script that is necessary again for interactivity, but this is Blazor stuff. Do not have to think about that for now, but we want to have a look at the routes component. This is that thing then, and the important thing that you have to remember here is the actual layout file. So here we can see that we are actually using the main layout, and this thing then can be found here in the, see it here, the layouts folder or namespace, and then there's our main layout, and this is now the other puzzle of the complete HTML page. So here we have a div, let's have a look, div class page, div class page. All right, now this is auto-generated stuff by Blazor. Again, don't worry about that. Then we have our sidebar with another component, and comes the nav menu, and you can see this here. So this is now the nav menu. So this is, I think you get the idea by now, this is how all that is built. And then also main layout, there it is. Also what you can then see is down here, we've got the main main element and another div for the top menu, the top row here, and then the body. This is the actual content then of your page. So there, when we have another look, there it, where is the article? This is the nav menu, then here the main element, and then here article, class content, and padding in the X direction is 4. This is Bootstrap stuff, Bootstrap classes. And then our actual body, pretty small in that case. And then here we have also well, let's say this error bar. When something happens, then this thing occurs, and this is or appears, and this is the code for that. But this is then well, this is shown then dynamically in essence. All right, so this is what or how your complete page is built, and this is also in this case currently only, not only, but it is static server-side rendering. So Blazor SSR, this means this page is already completely rendered on the server, and this complete document then is sent to the client. In essence, we could stop the video here because this is the best choice in essence if you want to make absolutely sure that a search engine sees a page the way you want it to see it. Was this correct English? I think so. And again, real quick, for the head content or the meta stuff, now here we have the head content component, and for instance, we can do something like that. Meta name, for instance, is description, and then here the content, for instance, can of course be another a variable here when you press the correct button, almost like that, and then we say, for instance, something like that, description, that's the one, and then we add our code block down here like that, and here we say private string description is now, this is our beautiful home page. Awesome. And now let's have a quick look again and just scroll up. You see meta char set, meta name viewport, and so on. Title is the last thing. And now let's just restart the application again. It is hopefully rebuilding. Yep, there it was. And now when we go here, we should see, there it is, meta name, description, content. This is our beautiful homepage. All right, so this is how you can change the meta tags for your page. Now we are already almost 15 minutes in, and we only had a look at Blazor SSR, but I also wanted to show you how your page is built in the end, how this puzzle looks like. So now maybe you already know a bit more, but the problem now is, let's have a look at the weather page. Here we see stream rendering. It's still static server-side rendering, so the page is actually rendered statically, completely, you name it, on the page, sent to the client. But the stream rendering thing means that, again, when we have a look here at this function, they simulate a delay of 500 milliseconds, and after this delay we also get some data, and this is then streamed into the page. The problem is that a search engine or a crawler might not wait for these 500 milliseconds, right? So when we now go to the weather page, there it is now. Okay, now let me make this a bit bigger again, and we reload, because with that you make absolutely sure that you see the real result. And see that here now, okay, let me go back. Here now we see this component demonstrates showing data, loading, and the error bar. So what does this mean now? Does this mean that the page does not, or the search engine does not see the data? Yes, it might be the case actually, that this is exactly what's happening. And this now is something you have to think about, but this is not Blazor specific. This is also true to other SPA frameworks in the end, or other pages that use JavaScript to get some data. Maybe if you're using even jQuery, I don't know, Ajax, whatever it is in the end, then you have to think this through. So if you want if you want the search engine to see the data, and really, I think the example of a personal blog maybe, or a news magazine page, whatever that is, makes more sense here, because you want the search engine to see this page, right? So there is, of course, a delay in loading data, in loading a page for your blog, an article, and it is great for the user to have stream rendering, because then when we click on the weather page, then I simulated this a couple of times now, but when we go to the counter page, we're directly there, and when we go to the weather page, we also are directly there, and we see the loading text for a short amount of time and then see the data. But if you would not use stream rendering, and let's do this now, like that, we just uncomment this. So now plain old SSR, so static server-side rendering. And when this page is now reloaded, let's just reload this thing, then you see there was no loading text. And when I move back up here, go to the weather page, we even see the data, and it's exactly the same, -1, 31, -18, 0, and so on. It's the same stuff, right? This matches. I'm emphasizing that because we will have a look at pre-rendering in a minute. And also here the HTML says the same thing, but the problem now is I go to the counter page, and now I go to the weather page, and just pay attention when I click, and then when we see the data, so I click now, and it takes half a second, probably. And after that, we see the data. So this might be a problem. This might be a user experience issue that you have to think about, that you have to fix. But you have the options, all right? So you can totally build a page with a frame and say, okay, this is enough for a search engine, for instance, and the data is only important then for the actual user, but not for the search engine. Or I don't know, you think of something different, you want to see the result, the content of your page also in the search engine, then you have to choose something different. And talking about something different, wow, that was nice, right? Let's have a look at the counter page here. So here now, we say interactive auto. Now, let me change that first to interactive server maybe. Now, this means we're using WebSockets, and we have to have a constant connection to the server to make this work. So now, when we reload the page, and then go to the counter page again, there it is, and then again, maybe reload it. So now, what do we see here? We see counter, current count 0, and the click me button. Actually pretty nice, right? Well, the thing is, pre-rendering is activated or enabled by default. So this means that we are first rendering the stuff on the server and then sending it to the client. But then for the interactivity to work, we also render code on the client as well. Now, let me show you that, and hopefully it makes more sense then. So here now, we just create a new instance of the interactive server render mode. And now here say pre-rendering is false, all right? This is the argument, pre-render, and this is now set to false. And we restart this again. And let me again reload it. And hopefully now, this is everything we see. Not that nice, right? So now nothing is rendered on the server first. I know it sounds confusing because the render mode is interactive server, but again, this is because of you're using WebSockets here. And the search engine would see this, all right? So here again, think this through. Do you need interactivity on a page that you also want the search engine to see completely? Or can you change something here? And by the way, this is not really a problem, again, of Blazor. This is actually something that makes you push in a certain direction, makes you think how you want to really build maybe even the architecture of your application and what is really necessary for your application to work for also the user. I hope you know where I'm getting with this. Again, with a personal blog, for instance, you want the user, of course, to see your article, all right? And for that, static server-side rendering is totally sufficient. You don't need Blazor WebAssembly to see or to read an article, all right? But then again, if you want to enable comments, someone should be able to write a comment on your blog article, then you need interactivity because you have a text area, you have a button that that should work. So what do you need there? Well, one thing is that you can also do that with SSR, just use a form and you're done. But of course, if you want, you can make a component just of this comment thingy there for your page and make this single component then render for instance, with server or with WebAssembly, and this is not a problem for the search engine because it maybe doesn't really care about the comments, or you don't care about the comments for the search engine, you know? Maybe this is because there's so much hate for Blazor now, because you have all the options, all the possibilities. It's just too much. I don't know. So this is Blazor Server now. Now let's have a look at Blazor WebAssembly, and it's pretty much the same thing. So here now, yeah, Blazor WebAssembly render mode it is. Now we start with pre-rendering off, and we restart the application. There it is. Counter page. Yeah, you see, same stuff, right? This is the result here. And when we now again say pre-rendering is true, and this is something you have to be careful, or where you have to be careful, where you have to pay attention, because now we see the complete result. This is fine, but it is first rendered on the server. And this means if you have a page where you want to grab some data and you're using a service or something like that, then the service has to be available on the server and on the client. This is the complicated part, I know, but again, there are ways when you're thinking about the architecture of your page, of your application rather, then maybe you actually don't have to implement stuff twice, and you really don't have to. You just have to decide in the end, where does your component make more sense. And again, I don't know what percentage it is, but you can do so much already with Blazor static server-side rendering, and I think this is really, really amazing. Okay, did we cover everything? Well, there's one more thing I want to show you that also shows you the difference between pre-rendering and not pre-rendering, because here now this component is on the server and it will render twice when we say now this is render mode interactive server. And you see this with, or when you have a look at the actual data that we get, and this is really interesting. So now let's go again back to the weather page and reload it again. All right, there we are. I scroll back up. There we are. And here I think you can already see it. You see the data, but this is the stuff that was rendered first, and then we have stuff that is rendered second. And you see that the data is different because it is randomly generated. All right, so this is also a way to see it, just to demonstrate. You see it, right? The where is it? There, random shared next, and so on, and here random shared next. So here, this is just another way to show you that there are actually two ways to render the page, or it is rendered twice in the end, and this means that the data is also received twice. So again, this is just one of the big pitfalls here, or maybe the only, not the only one, but the biggest, maybe the greatest pitfall. It's a trap. Made another video about that, so maybe you want to check this one out. But when you got this, then you know how to design your page, what render modes to use for search engines. If you're building for search engines, I think that a lot of you have to build internal applications in your company, for instance, and I don't think that SEO is a topic there. You really don't have to cover this at all and don't have to think about that. But then again, if you're building something publicly, it's your own blog, for instance, or a portfolio page, or a forum, I don't know, something like that, then SEO might be really, really important. And now when you watched that long, then maybe you now know that actually when you create a Blazor web app, then out of the box, it is already SEO ready. So it is actually already designed for search engines, right? If you don't change anything, you leave pre-rendering on, and you're using static server-side rendering, for instance, then you really don't have to worry about SEO at all, except, of course, setting some meta tags, for instance, but now you know that you can use the head content component. All right, I think this was long enough for this SEO topic. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. If so, please hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel, please. It helps making more of these videos. Maybe you want to support me on Patreon. This would be nice. Thank you very much. I love every single one of you. And check out the .NET Web Academy if you're interested. Lots of cool stuff coming up. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I see you next time. Take care.